Okay, let's go back to the manhunt of Abdul Azaidi, which is in its second day now. So joining us is former Met Police Detective Chief Superintendent Kevin Herley. Kevin, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Can you just explain, first of all, why it apparently took the police so long to release this chap's name and, of course, picture?
Well, I suspect it's probably because they didn't exactly know who he was, because, of course, all they had to go on was the registration number of a car, and they'd want to be certain or have reasonable certainty that he was a suspect. And in terms of gathering the picture, of course, if we look at that, that's been collected by CCTV, and it seems to me pretty fast work that they've managed to find the CCTV with a recent image of him with his damaged eye. So I'd say that's gone pretty well. They've put quite a lot of resources onto this because that looks like it's been captured from a public CCTV in either a railway station or somewhere. So I think they're doing quite well on that.
And this man is.
Let me tell you my real concern, and I'll take it back to asylum seekers. This guy was convicted in 2018 of a serious sexual offence, which was indecent exposure, and he was still granted asylum. You know, indecent exposure is well known as a precursor offence to becoming a rapist potentially. So anyone with that kind of conviction, they should look very closely at whether or not we're going to give asylum. The problem here is that if someone does not get sentenced to now, in this case, or in any other case, at least 1 year's imprisonment, they will not be refused asylum. The law and the directions, more importantly, the asylum directions need to be changed. That if someone is found guilty of an offence that could carry a punishment for imprisonment, never mind whether or not they are sentenced, then they should be given serious consideration as to a refusal for asylum. Because with the current problems with the prison capacity, all sorts of different alternatives are being looked at for sentencing to avoid sending people to prison. So he did not receive a prison sentence, but committed an offence which could have done. They need to change the regulations on why they refuse asylum. Then he wouldn't even be in the country.
Well, there are going to be very serious questions now for the government about this case and, of course, about reviewing the asylum system. Kevin, I did want to ask you about how the police are going to go about finding this man, because it's been 36 hours plus since this incident in Clapham, very serious incident. And so far, aside from the CCTV, it looks as though he's managed to evade the authorities and evade CCTV elsewhere in the country. So we know that the Metropolitan Police are teaming up with other forces in the north of the country, but how do you even go about finding this man?
Well, I mean, the approach they're taking now, which is publish the picture, and that's pretty unusual because when someone's a suspect, they will not necessarily publish a picture because it could create evidential problems in identifying them in a court proceeding, but they view this as such a serious attack, and it is the use of an alkali. They've decided to publish it. The public are most likely to see this guy when he's either moving on public transport, in the shops, going to hospital, so they're relying on the public. Then, of course, patrolling officers will be keeping their eye out for them. And where he's known up in Northumbria and Newcastle police will be looking to speak with anyone who may or may not know him. Of course, those people are most likely to lie to the police or help to conceal him. That's the probability. So the big helper on this has to be the public. So the appeal is, if anyone sees anyone like him, to immediately dial 999 so the police get him. Because realistically, unless they've got his bank details and they will find that he's used a bank somewhere and they're able to track that down by speaking with the banks, which again is unlikely, that's the only real way forward. So bottom line, the public know what he looks like. They are the ones who could find him. So the more that picture is publicised by the media, which is where you all play your part, the more likely that this horrible person is going to be brought to justice.
I mean, Kevin, if there's anything good, if you can take anything good from this case so far, is the public who stepped in to help that mother and those two children who put themselves in harm's way to tend to their injuries, to splash water on their face, to help that poor family that were attacked in this way. But on that note, Kevin, and the public getting involved, the police must be very concerned about this man's background. You know, the sexual offence that you spoke about that took place in 2018, very serious sexual offence. They must be worried about public safety and what this man could potentially be capable of.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we should all be concerned about this person. Anyone who's prepared to throw a corrosive fluid at a woman and child and apparently throw the child to the floor at times to such an extent it shocked witnesses is an extremely dangerous, nasty piece of work, if not a psychopath. So he is a concern, and if he's seen, one would hope that any of us plays our part, immediately dials 999 and gets him arrested, because the sooner that person is taken off the street, put before the courts and ideally convicted, ultimately booted out of the country, the better for all of us.
Yeah. Well, let's hope it happens today. Former Met Police Detective, Chief Superintendent Kevin Herley, thank you so much.